Overreaction Tuesday, coming up in about 10 minutes or so from now. Jonathan Gannon, head coach of the Cardinals, met with the media yesterday, and I think we were all awaiting eagerly an update on the trio of injuries to the Cardinals' cornerback room, Max Melton, Garrett Williams, and Will Johnson. And unfortunately, the update to the Cardinals' cornerback injury room is that there is no update right now on the status of those three guys. Jonathan Gannon, meeting with the media yesterday, said that didn't have any specifics, would update us later in the week. And I know we're all in a society right now where we want information instantaneously and we want to know the status of these three guys and we want to know if they're going to be able to play on Sunday, if they're out, how long they're out for, because our mind wanders. Just to compare it to another situation, in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow goes down in the game, and during the game, you're wondering, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, how long is Joe Burrow going to be out for? Is this a serious injury? And then when you find out afterwards that it's turf toe, and you find out that it's going to require surgery, and that he's going to need to miss 3 months, you start playing the game. You start doing the thing. You start going through the schedule. Can we win this game with Jake Browning? Can we win that game with Jake Browning? You try to do the math to make the team relevant when Joe Burrow could potentially return. It's just it's what we do as fans. We try to always retain hope, even during bleak moments. And while not the starting quarterback of the team, the Cardinals are dealing with that with their trio of injuries to their corners, to where everybody is wondering, if they're going to miss significant time or any time, can the Cardinals afford to be without them? And yet, because we don't know the extent of the injuries, we don't know how long these players are going to be out for, it's hard to do that exercise. It's hard to know what it's going to look like on Sunday against San Francisco. You certainly think in the back of your mind, if two of those three players are compromised for Sunday, you don't like the Cardinals' chances with their secondary. You worry about what this secondary looks like without two of those three guys. They're already dealing with injuries in that group with Sean Murphy-Bunting with what happened in the offseason. They've already thrusted Will Johnson into a starting role. He's thrived in that role. And so you just need those three guys available, because that is the strength of this defense. And so you just want to know. Unfortunately, we didn't get that update yesterday. I'm sure the next time we hear from Jonathan Gannon, which I believe will be tomorrow, we should have a little bit more of an update. And I hate that the update for all of you is that there is no update, but that's just the way things kind of progress here in the NFL. The Cardinals aren't going to want to tip their hand early here ahead of a very important divisional matchup against San Francisco. And they also may still be gathering information, and they don't want to report something about a player and it turns out to not be true. So could be a little gamesmanship of not trying to give San Francisco a leg up, but also game on Sunday. We hear from Jonathan Gannon less than 24 hours later. There could still be imaging. They could still be doing some physical therapy. There could be all sorts of different things going on behind the scenes where they don't know the extent of the injury. But boy, would it be a huge loss for this team to be without one of those guys, let alone multiple, which is potentially the worst case scenario, which is potentially the fear here, is you have question marks around all three of those guys.
I mean, we talked about this being one of the strengths of this defense. And now you've cut your depth to a really, really thin margin if you lose two of them, right? It becomes scary at what that means for the secondary. And then you start doing the win-loss game. You talked about it for the Bengals. I am sure that 90% of the people in Cincinnati who root for the Bengals woke up Monday morning and went through the schedule win-loss game one more time. I think that's the exact thing you would do with the Cardinals, because we've talked about this offense. They scored 20 points last week. They probably didn't live up to the expectations that most of us had against the Saints. So now we're talking about a team that offensively hasn't really started to click, and defensively has relied on some of their young corners to make plays. And if they're going to miss those guys, can they win against the Niners? What does that even look like? What does it look like in 2 weeks, or how long these guys are out? And then you have to go back and reassess what's the win-loss game.
Melton dealing with a knee, Garrett Williams dealing with a knee, Will Johnson dealing with a groin. Knee, groin.
Is there a part of you that on the Will Johnson thing, little bit of relief it's not a knee? because obviously that's what's plagued him.
Yes, if you want to look at it from that perspective of the knee was the question mark coming into the draft process, and so it not being the knee does maybe make you go, this isn't already a reoccurring thing. But a groin is something just like a hamstring, just like a quad.
Can linger.
It could take 2 weeks. It could take a month. It could be fine 1 week, and then it's re-aggravated the next. And so you have to be very careful. And it's early enough in the season where I think they'll err on the side of caution. I will say that's the benefit of starting 2-0. You do now have a little more wiggle room. You can err on the side of caution. There is no feeling of we got to get after it. We started 1-1. We feel like we gave one away early in the year. We got to make it up somewhere. So that's the benefit of starting 2-0. It's the benefit of starting 2-0 for Cincinnati. Now, it's 3 months that they're going to be without Joe Burrow, so they can't afford to just take a 3-month sabbatical and hope that it figures itself out. But the 2-0 start to the year does build you a little bit of a buffer. And so you hope that these things aren't serious, but we're talking about knees for corners. It doesn't when you hear what the 3 injuries are, you don't feel like you're going to see all 3 of them on Sunday, right? It just doesn't feel like it. 2 knees and a groin.
You imagine at least 2 of those guys probably aren't going to play.
And oh, by the way, you did see what happens when those 3 guys aren't on the field in the fourth quarter. Right?
Yeah.
You saw what it looked like when you didn't have all 3 of those guys available to you when the Panthers were making their comeback. So you are worried about what this looks like without them being available. So they're 2-0. Those 3 guys are banged up. We are awaiting an update. And I think it's unfair for us to try to figure out what this team looks like on Sunday, what this team looks like in the short and the long term until we know the full severity and how long they're going to be out for. If you told me that all of these are 1-week injuries, then I don't like their chances on Sunday, but long-term, it doesn't change how we view this team. If there's going to be some length behind these injuries and guys are going to miss significant time, that changes the calculus a little bit, changes the math. You're going to have to revisit the win-loss game. Just a huge blow to this team because that's one of the strengths of their group. And you feel like maybe you could withstand 1 injury for a little bit, but right now you have a cloud hovering over you of 3 significant injuries to 3 significant players to your secondary. And we saw it with our own 2 eyes, what it looked like when you weren't healthy as a group on Sunday.